Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome all to the November 25th Board of Commissioners work session. I want to thank each and every one of you for attending today, as well as anyone who is online Zooming in. Going to call the meeting to order, and can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Harker?
Here.
Commissioner Gilligan?
Here.
Commissioner LaPiccolo?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
Commissioner Spiegler?
Here.
Commissioner Cooper?
Commissioner Cooper will not be with us. He's feeling under the weather, and we wish him feel well. And can I get a motion to dismiss Commissioner Cooper from the meeting?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I need to make an amendment to the current agenda. I would like to add to number 6 under items for review and discussion. It is a resolution related to engaging a grant writing service. With that addition to the agenda, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye. Okay, so Sarah, say aye. Okay, thank you very much. Well, we've got a great presentation, one that we have been long awaiting for. So we've got the Town of Beaufort Economic Development Strategic Plan. Charlie, did you want to introduce Samantha Darlington or Kyle?
Oh, let our town planner introduce her,
Okay.
Mr. Garner.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess, and we are pleased to have with us today from the Department of Commerce, Ms. Samantha Darlington. She's been working with a select group of folks in the community, a vast cross-section, looking to put together a strategic economic plan for us with some really good ideas and some goals and objectives for us to look at accomplishing in the next year. And I think and she's done a remarkable job with this group, and I think it is a testimony when almost half of the members are here this evening. So, so again, kudos to her, and I now present Ms. Samantha Darlington.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It is so good to be back in front of y'all. So my name is Samantha Darlington, as Kyle said. I am excited to present the finished Town of Beaufort Economic Development Strategic Plan for you all. And this plan was created in partnership with the town and the Main Street and Rural Planning program. We began this process back at the beginning of 2024 when the mayor and former town manager Todd Clark met with the director of the Main Street Center and me to discuss the possibility of joining the Main Street program. By the end of the meeting, we had come to a consensus that the first step for the town should be to create a 5-year economic development strategic plan. I then met with the board and explained what that process would look like, answered a lot of y'all's questions, and we moved forward with the process in April. So there was a few reasons that we recommended a strategic plan for the town. This process helps provide a foundation for economic development efforts and provides a sense of direction for those efforts. Because the plan breaks down the strategies we identified into incremental actions, it can be a useful tool for guiding day-to-day decisions. It's also a great foundation for downtown if you all did want to pursue the Main Street designation, as it is a requirement for all Main Street programs to have an economic development strategic plan. So what is an economic development strategic plan? The people that were in my work group probably are tired of seeing this graphic because I showed it every single meeting, but it really does break down what is within this plan. It identifies and stakes the economic role that your town will play in the greater economy over the next 5 years. It states how your community will be different from other areas and identifies growth areas and centers of activity. Most importantly, it gives specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And so I know the work group got tired of seeing it, but it is the formula that we use to create the plan. Each meeting we focused on a few buckets until we had a fully formed plan. We held 6 meetings over the course of 6 months, and the work group was really instrumental in creating this plan. So I just want to take a second and recognize all the people who did come. If you could just raise your hand or stand up. They were really just so instrumental in getting the community's vision in place and helping me and helping Kyle and the town with this plan, so I can't thank them enough. We did a lot of different activities during this time in order to identify the current economic landscape in the town. In order to figure out where your town wants to go, you have to figure out where you are first. And so the work group participated in an asset mapping exercise, a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and identified economic drivers for the town and region. This is the result of the SWOT. And so as you can see, there were many things that the work group was able to identify. We went through the asset list and the SWOT to be able to figure out what the town was doing well and what it could leverage, what were the biggest gaps, and what were the opportunities that had the most potential. And so some of the biggest takeaways were that tourism in the town is super strong. It employs a lot of people, and many businesses are currently dependent on it. While that is great, and we do want to acknowledge the positive impacts that tourism plays on the town, the work group really wanted to emphasize the needs of the local people that live here, the residents that live here and are impacted by the day-to-day operations of the town. And so because of that, we had a few main focus areas for this plan. Live Oak and Cedar Street were one that we identified, filling in gaps in services for families and residents that live here, and focusing on how to connect the community. We also, one other extra thing that we did was stakeholder interviews. So I interviewed a bunch of different people that were stakeholders in the town. They were identified by the work group, and all of their answers were anonymous and went into the formulation of this plan. So to get started with the plan, we decided that, when we were first doing this plan, we realized that downtown and the rest of the town have different needs. And we wanted to make sure that no one was left out of the plan. So because of this, we created a vision and a work plan for downtown and one for the town as a whole. And so we just wanted to assure that everybody's needs would be addressed. And I'm first going to go over the work plan for the entire town. And while we go over the vision and the strategy breakdown, if you do have any questions as we go along, please let me know. I've totally comfortable answering as we go. If you want to wait till the end, that's fine too. So the work plan for the town as a whole. This was our vision. One of the things that I had the group do when we were making the vision, it was to close your eyes while I read the vision, and to see if you could picture the town being this way. And that's really how we got to the vision that we're at right now. Beaufort is a small, vibrant town on the coast of eastern North Carolina, renowned for its environmental significance, rich history, and cultural experiences. Supported by a strong community fabric of residents and local businesses, Beaufort promotes sustainable growth for its residents and visitors alike, with an emphasis on physical and social connectivity. So that was really the foundation for the plan for the town as a whole. And then from there, we started to break it down even further. So there's 3 strategies in this part of the work plan. Strategy 1 is based off of the first part of the vision. So Beaufort is renowned for its environment, culture, and history. So we have a couple of goals in here, and the first one is going to be promoting the history, arts, and cultural assets that are outside the downtown area, making sure to include underrepresented parts of the community. So while we know that Beaufort has a rich history and maritime culture, the biggest weak point that we found was that arts and culture and history of parts of the community were not being lifted up in the way that they possibly could be. So it's important for the town to be able to tell the story of the people who lived here and the people who are now. So we identified a few objectives to make this part stronger. The first objective, 1.1, utilize at least 3 different types of media options to expand promotion of culture and events by the end of 2025. And so the first really focuses on how you tell stories that you already know about. And how do you tell it to the world? How do you tell it to the people who are visiting? The second objective, which is tell the story of the diverse people and history of the town by the end of 2025, really focuses on telling the story to each other, as well as telling it to the town or to your visitors. And so some of the local people that might not be as well represented in your storytelling right now, that's what this is focusing on. So just a little anecdote about what we were doing when we were thinking about this. During one of our sessions, a few different stories came out about the town of Beaufort that resonated with a lot of people and were really beautiful and really interesting, but nobody saw them, really represented in how the town was telling its story. And some people in the work group didn't even know about those stories. And so that's why we focused on some of the things that we focused on in this. There's 7 different actions or projects that were under this goal. So the first objective, we have to create a brochure or a graphic that includes a map of local historic events and experiences. You could create a QR code that can be scanned for an interactive map, which just builds off of that first goal. Continue to promote the local art and events using social media, which you guys already do. And then ensure that the town's website is cell phone friendly. That was something that we added at the end because a lot of visitors who come here, they don't have access to a computer. They're on their phone the entire time. So we want to make sure that these stories that you're telling on the town website are phone friendly as well. The second, create videos telling the stories of local people and history. And then update the town's website to include those stories. And then create an annual storytelling community gathering roundtable that's centered around local stories and resident connection. The last one we felt was very important because we wanted something that wasn't tied to monetary value, something that wasn't tied to making money or tourism, something that's just for the locals on how you all tell your story, how you share your stories with each other. And this was inspired by something that you all have done before at the library and at, I believe it's the Maritime Museum, have done events like this before. And so we just want to encourage the continuation of those events and maybe hold them annually so we can make sure that people are able to connect in that way, in that storytelling way. Okay, and then goal 2 was to protect and restore the town's environmental assets. So when we were doing our SWOT and we were doing the asset mapping, one of the things that came up constantly was how beautiful the town is. You all have so many natural assets with the water and with your waterfront and just your location. You have so many beautiful natural assets in your environment. It is so important for you all to protect those. You all have already taken a lot of great steps to protect those with the Resilient Beaufort Plan. So we wanted to enhance that with these goals and with these objectives. So the first objective is going to be encourage and support shoreline restoration throughout the town limits, utilizing nature-based solutions when feasible. So completing your estuarine shoreline management plan, which was recommended in the Resilient Beaufort Plan. And then second was promoting living shoreline educational resources to property owners. I know that the community college over here does a really great educational shoreline class. They have a couple of different ones. I've been to them. They're super informative. So promoting things like that to the property owners around town, that might not be, the town might not be able to have as much living shoreline as you would like, but property owners might be able to fill some of those gaps. And then second would be to support design interventions identified in the Resilient Beaufort Plan for their potential to reduce Beaufort's exposure and sensitivity to identified hazards. This is really increasing the resiliency of Beaufort. So just reinforcing the things that you all already approved in the Resilient Beaufort plans. We don't want to recreate the wheel. We don't want to give you all more work. And so because of that, we just wanted to build off of what you all have already done. The third would be to achieve the second strategy with the third goal, promote sustainable growth for residents and for visitors. So your third goal is to achieve a balanced approach of commercial and residential growth. And before I continue, I know that is easier said than done, right? I know that that is something that a lot of towns try to do, and it might be a little difficult to do it, which is why we felt it was so important to put in the plan so that we can start to break that down a little and say, what does that really look like? What does a balance look like? It's easy to say it should be balanced, but what does that mean? And so our first objective under there is going to be encourage diversified commercial growth on Live Oak that meets local needs. There were a few projects that we identified in there. which was create design and aesthetic standards for new development along Live Oak. The second would be to identify sites for and start to recruit a new gas station. In every interview we did, and in every person we talked to said, we would love a new gas station. We only have one, and when hurricanes come or when the bridge is closed or any kind of inconvenience like that, the line is down the street and they run out of gas, right? Which, it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. And you all have only started to grow, right? And you're only going to continue to grow. You have a lot of visitors that come here. And so that was a super important project that we identified early on in the process. The second objective under this is to begin to address the growing unregulated rental options within the town by the end of 2025. I am not saying you need to fix the problem by the end of 2025. It is a problem that most towns in North Carolina are having, and I cannot name one of them that is able to handle it well right now. Everybody is trying to figure out how to address this issue because it's new. It's relatively new, and it has been impacting a lot of communities across North Carolina. So with this goal, all we are saying is the door needs to be open and the conversation needs to be started, right? And so researching options and the legalities of regulation, right? What can you do? What are other options? What are things that other people have done that have worked? And what are things that other people have done that have not worked, right? And then 2 would be looking into hiring a consultant to address the issue. Say you looked at all of the other things people have done and you said, we just don't have the expertise for this. This might not be something that we can do. Looking into hiring a consultant doesn't mean that you have to hire a consultant. It might not mean that you have the budget to hire a consultant, but it is opening that door and starting the conversation and saying, this is a problem that multiple people have said is a problem. How are we going to address it? What are we going to start doing? Second strategy, goal 4, would be enhance workforce housing initiatives to support local employment. Again, this is a very big problem. Workforce housing is a big problem for communities across the United States. There is not one community that I'm working with right now that is not having a workforce housing issue. It is not unique to you all, and it is a very big issue that some of the things you cannot control, right? You can't control how the housing market is right now in the United States. You can't control some of the state regulations. But what can you control? That's what we're looking at in here. So objective 4.1 is under the town of Beaufort's leadership, create a workforce housing task force by the end of 2025. This task force is going to collect data and information about the current workforce housing availability, collect data and information about workforce housing initiatives in other communities, and meet with the Carteret County staff to establish a partnership in addressing this issue. The third was one of the most important things that we identified, mainly because workforce housing is such a large issue, and it's a large issue for the entire county. It is not something that you all might not be able to fix it all on your own, right? And so it's important to leverage the partnerships that you have around you to be able to tackle big issues. The county is the first partner that you need to be reaching out to. They do have a new economic development director. He did come to a lot of these meetings and did agree that he would love to have a partnership with the town on looking at these issues. So I do think that it's not only a great opportunity for you all to start looking at this issue that is impacting so many people in your community. We've seen that there's a ton of people who come into Beaufort for work every day that leave because they can't live here, right? And, with teachers and with people who aren't making, a ton of money, where are they going to live? Where are they going to live? Maybe in the town, but maybe in the county. Maybe it's not something that the town can fill. Maybe it's not a gap the town can fill. But that's going to be identified with that workforce or that task force. And that might be something that, it's not just the county that you partner with, but it's multiple different towns within the county tackle this big issue together because it's not just impacting you all. Strategy 3 is Beaufort is physically and socially connected. So the first goal is to enhance 2 projects from the Beaufort Bike and Ped Plan by the end of 2025. Again, you all already have a lot of great plans. You have done a lot of great work already. So what we want to do is build off of that. The first we identified was continue the development of the Trestle Walk project, which you all already have done. You all already are working on that, so just the continuation of that. And then begin the Lennoxville Road connectivity project that calls for a multi-use trail with signage and lighting that is within the Beaufort Bike and Ped Plan. The second objective is to enhance the accessibility and inclusivity by advancing at least 2 projects within the ADA transition plan. So working with the North Carolina Wildlife Commission to ensure ADA compliance at the Beaufort boat ramps. And then second is to create and install accessible signage and signals throughout main roads, intersections, and public parks so that it is safe for all people with all abilities. Strategy 3, again, the goal 6 is strengthen the social connectivity and community engagement within the town. So this goal is really where we wanted to focus on the disconnect that we were seeing within the town. Some people felt like Main Street or downtown was not connected to the rest of the town, or some people in town were connected and some people weren't. But however way you slice it, everybody agreed that there was a disconnect, that some people felt welcomed and some didn't. And this might be because of historical factors. This might be because of things that are happening today. This might be just because of public perception. Maybe you all are like there are things that everybody is welcome to, but they're just not aware of those things, right? And so we want to make everybody feel connected as part of the community, because when they feel part of the community, they give back to that community. And so the first objective is to, under the town of Beaufort's leadership, to create a task force focused on community connection by the end of 2025. So identify gaps in services for families that live within the town. Begin researching possible community gathering spaces with the intent to have one established by 2025 or 2029, and then meet with the Carteret County staff to establish a partnership in addressing this issue. Because again, it was a countywide issue, not just an issue within the town of Beaufort. So how does the county maybe address some of these gaps in services? Because you all can't have everything in the town of Beaufort, right? You're only so big. You can't have every single service that every family would need. But if there's no, pediatric dentist for 3 counties away or 4 counties, I don't actually know that. That was just an example. If maybe Beaufort can't get one, but maybe Morehead City can, or maybe Newport can. And so instead of having to go 4 counties away or go to Wilmington or go to New Bern, people can stay within the county. And then as far as the community gathering space goes for the second project, when we did our stakeholder interviews and when we surveyed people in the community, that was something that people brought up many, many times. They felt like there was no place for the community to go and gather. They felt like there was no third spaces for people to go and connect that were not centered around alcohol, right? So you all have a great entertainment in town. You all have a lot of great bars, but what happens for families? What about places that people who can't drink can go, or people who don't want to drink or don't want to be around that can go and gather and connect as a community? And so just researching possible spaces, maybe you take a space that you already have and you use it for that community connection. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel, as I said. You don't have to build a whole new place. You don't have to recruit a YMCA, even though all of those are options. You don't have to do that, right? You can repurpose the spaces you already have to be more intentional about filling in this gap. Okay, work plan for the downtown. So when we went through the work plan for the downtown, we decided that the vision needed to be a little bit different, even though you can tell that they are connected. So downtown Beaufort is a vibrant, accessible waterfront destination on the coast of eastern North Carolina, renowned for its rich history, maritime activities, and cultural experiences. Supported by a strong fabric of local businesses, downtown Beaufort provides residents and visitors with a variety of shopping, dining, and events. So you can tell that there's a common thread between the two visions, but they're not the exact same because the needs are a little different in each place. So strategy 1, downtown Beaufort is a vibrant and accessible waterfront destination. This will come as no surprise to you all, but when we talked about downtown, the number one thing people brought up was parking. Again, not unique to Beaufort. That is common for most downtowns that I work with. So we really wanted to focus on enhancing parking accessibility and convenience for this work plan. So we have two objectives. The first would be begin creating or recruiting a public transportation service such as a water taxi or a shuttle service to connect nearby neighborhoods, parking areas, and Gallant's Channel to downtown. Like I said earlier, you all are only so big. You only have so many places to increase parking. You only have so many places to build like a parking lot or a parking deck or things like that, right? And that might not be something that you want. So instead, you have to be creative, right? And that's what we tried to do when we were looking at this problem. And the first, we really wanted the town or the partners of the town to be researching public transportation options for downtown. What would that look like? And complete a feasibility study for a shuttle or a water taxi option with a budget attached. We want it to be realistic, and it needs to have a solid plan before you all go forward with it, right? We don't want it to just be something that you kind of try on a whim and it never happens again, and it was fine for one summer, but nobody was really crazy about it, right? That won't fix the problem. We want a long-term sustainable solution to a big issue that a lot of places are facing. You all are very unique that you're on the water, and so you can be a little more creative about how you utilize public transportation. You all are small, very charming, small downtown, and so a subway system, right, that doesn't make sense, or a bus route might not make sense, but something like a water taxi that maybe you just have on the weekends, right? It doesn't have to be something that you all operate all the time, and it doesn't have to be something that the town operates. But looking into, creative solutions into solving this issue was what we were focusing on when we thought about that objective. The second would be to improve parking and streetscapes on the side streets and Cedar Street to encourage parking in less used areas. So we have a couple of different projects under this. So create and install signage that encourages visitors of downtown to park on side streets and Cedar Street. 2 would be to create and promote a downtown parking map that highlights all available parking. Because you all do have, even though people will say that you don't have any parking, that's not really true, right? You do have parking spaces. You have a good amount of parking spaces. And there are a lot of parking spaces that are paid, and then there are a lot that are not paid. People that are visiting might not know other options that are not along Front Street. If you're not on that main street on Front Street, they might not know about the other parking. And so we also want to improve the appearance and design of parking on Cedar Street and side streets in the downtown, which is something you all have already done. You have done a lot of beautiful streetscaping on Cedar Street. So just continuing that momentum, maybe repainting some of the lines, right? Maybe, increasing some of the signage so you can say, you can park down here, or parking's free during this time. Just making it very clear and increasing the awareness of where people can park really helps alleviate some of those parking issues. Okay. 2 would be to foster an inclusive and welcoming atmosphere downtown. So we have 3 objectives. The first is to promote one existing event, one that you already have a ton of events, right? You guys do a lot of events and you do a lot of them really well. I don't think that you all need another event. And so I don't think you all need to take that on. So I think you should instead take one event that you're already doing really well and promote it as a local resident-focused event with emphasis on affordability and accessibility, right? And so that might be your 4th of July parade. That might be the Pirate Fest that you all do. And you all could take it and change how you promote it. Change who your market is and who your audience is when you're doing that promotion. And within it, choose one existing event to promote that way. Research which part of downtown this event should be in and what businesses should be represented. And then promote this event using social media, partners, and local champions to bring in residents outside of downtown. So people who might not normally come to these events, how do you engage them to come to this event so that not only do they feel more connected to the community, but they feel more welcome downtown? Objective 2 is to create at least one new local incentive project within the downtown. So the first would be to determine the interest of downtown businesses partnering with the town or local organizations to offer a local discount or a local special on slower business days or specific local nights. 2 would be to implement coupon/parking validation program through the parking app that you all already have, and allow businesses to either send coupons or incentives directly to users that are using that platform that you're already on, right? I don't think that in this plan we want to create a ton of more work for you all, right? I don't want to give you all a ton of things that you are not going to be able to do. We want to set you up for success. So a lot of the things that we're doing are either building off of things that you are already doing or building off of programs that you already have. And then the third would be to ensure Goal 2 is incorporated in the current waterfront development project. So coordinate with the Beaufort Waterfront Operations and Finance Committee to align the dock design and management and waterfront development project to foster an inclusive and welcoming downtown. Because we want all of this to be threaded throughout all of the other plans. Similar to how we threaded a lot of the other plans that you all already approved and you all are already working on throughout this plan, we want that to continue when you're looking at your waterfront plan as well. Okay, strategy 2, downtown Beaufort has a strong fabric of local businesses with a variety of shopping, dining, and events. So goal 1 is to grow downtown's commercial footprint and increase foot traffic on adjacent streets. How do we do that? So first is encourage and support the redevelopment of Cedar Street, and we have a few different projects under that. Objective 2 is to create a downtown Beaufort development focus committee to lead implementation of this work plan. And then 3 is to support the design interventions identified in the Resilient Beaufort plan to ensure accessibility and walkability of downtown with the increased sunny day and rainfall flooding. So that's a lot, right? And there's a lot on this screen. But the first one, you are already doing this. You all are already doing the development of Cedar Street, and it has a ton of potential. That was one opportunity that we just kept saying has a ton of potential. So advance that project that is listed in the Bike and Ped plan. We also thought that this would be a great area for you all to really lift up your local art scene. Lift up the local art and the culture, because you don't really have an art district right now, and you all have a lot of great local artists, a lot of talented local artists. So second would be to create one new piece of public art near Cedar Street. Does that mean a mural? Not necessarily. Does that mean a statue? Not necessarily. There are a lot of creative ways that you can incorporate public art. You all have a lot of beautiful crosswalks on the street. A lot of our downtowns right now are creating murals within the crosswalk. So making beautiful murals within that crosswalk, commissioning local artists to be able to do it, and even the school system. Some are partnering with the school system to have the kids in the art program in high school do these projects for them. So they have a connection to Cedar Street, they have a connection to downtown, and then you all are getting to uplift the art within your community. And then third would be to contact and establish a relationship with commercial property owners on Cedar Street. Because you all have right now some properties that are just sitting there. It's important to establish a relationship with those property owners so they may, slowly move into the rehabbing part or selling of those properties if they're not going to do anything with them. And then the second was something that we talked about when we first looked into doing this plan. This would be almost like a foundation for your Main Street organization, right? And it doesn't have to be your Main Street organization, but it's a good foundation for it. You can have an existing organization take this on, right? You can create a new one if you feel like you need a blank slate in downtown. That is something that will be up to the town to decide who will be taking that on. I will say that the Downtown Beaufort Business Association has volunteered to take this part on. And so if that's something that you all want to partner with them, that is probably a good start, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Downtown Beaufort Business Association will end up being your Main Street organization. That might be a longer discussion of what that really looks like. And so first would be looking to looking into the possibility of hiring a dedicated staff member for downtown. What's happening? Well, I'll keep going. Look into a possibility of a dedicated staff member for downtown, survey downtown businesses to gauge interest in joining the committee and figuring out what that would look like, and then creating a building inventory for all your properties in downtown area. That's something that's required if you want to be in the Main Street program, and so that's an easy action for you all to go ahead and do. I can provide examples and a template for you all. Okay, so that was a lot of information, and I know. Plan implementation, what does that look like, right? And so first, none of these actions were broken down into incremental steps, which I know I said is part of what we do. It is. We want your all's approval on those are the projects we're going to do before we break them down to incremental steps, right? And so I would love to come back in February when you all are doing your retreat to talk about what those incremental steps look like. Identifying partners that can take on each project, because you all are only so big, you only have so much capacity, the town can only take so much on, right? We identified partners that could take on some of these projects. So it's not just the town that is going to be doing it. The only way this project will get done, this plan really gets done and gets done well, is if you utilize the partners you have. And so the first step of implementation would really be breaking down each project into incremental steps and identifying who is accountable for what thing, what does the budget look like, and what are the resources that you all already have. And from there, I would be able to help match some of those grant resources and let you all know, like, what kind of funding is out there for each project. The second thing, so we always recommend maintaining a dedicated group. It can be the work group that already existed. It could be a separate group. It could be one of those task force that we identified, right? If you wanted to combine both of those task force that we said you all should have and just have it as the committee that takes on this plan, that's something that you all can do as well. So maintaining a dedicated group to follow through after the planning process to begin addressing goals and objectives outlined in this plan is very critical to attaining the potential economic impact of these strategies. If you don't have people who are accountable for it, you do not have people who are checking on it, it may or may not get done. You all are honestly very good about getting things in your plans done. We've seen that historically when we did the plan review. You are good about following through. But it does help to have a dedicated committee. And so if it makes the most sense for you all to combine those two task force for it to be that committee and they take on those two things as part of doing the plan, that's totally fine. And this group should not be the sole entity for implementing all the goals in the plan. Instead, the group should function as a convener and a point of contact to connect all of the different partners that we talked about, to connect different individuals in your community that can help with each part of the project, and organizations and resources to help the broader community achieve these goals, because it wouldn't just be the plan for that specific group, it's the town's plans. They're just the ones helping facilitate and the organization of actually getting things done. Okay, and then the last part is monitoring and evaluation. So it's a living document. I've said this a million times when we had our work group things. We can change things. We can go back and look at it in a year, right? I can come back in a year and say, you can say, we hated this objective, or this goal really just didn't work for us. And we can rethink about, does the goal completely need to be changed? Or is there something, or some way we need to pivot, right? And so it's a living document. It's not set in stone. And it's really just used to prioritize the needs of the community and outline the town's objectives. So the value of the plan really lies with the ability of the town to set realistic goals and implement these innovative strategies. And we can, come in yearly to do an implementation plan that break down to assist in measuring progress and helping the local implementation committee, and they can reach out to me whenever, right? I'm not gonna present this to you, you all approve it, and then I leave, and you all never hear from me again, which is what I told you at the beginning. It's a partnership. So if there's part of the plan where you're like, this is just really not working, and we're not sure what resources to turn to, or I don't know where we would even start getting funding from that. That's where I come in, right? You all reach out to me, I'm more than happy to help get any of these objectives or goals done. Anything to help with that incremental change and progress. Okay. Any questions?
Well, that was a lot.
I know, I know, it's a lot. We jam-packed this plan.
Well, I'm glad you had an excellent group of individuals to help you with this, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here to support the program all the way through. We're not done yet. It's just the very beginning, and Samantha, we really enjoyed working with you on this process of becoming what we hope to be a Main Street as well as this economic development, and searching our whole entire town to help find that balance, which was very important. I also appreciate you bringing out the many things that Beaufort has achieved over the years, and we're heading in the right direction. But as you said, it's going to open that door for us to have those conversations, to maybe bring them a little bit more into light, the way our citizens would like to see them. So I'm just going to go around to the commissioners and see if they have any questions, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Oliver.
I think you've done a very good job of listening. I think that you've been remarkably visionary in spreading this thing. I will share with you, I've got a couple minor things, and they're just nitpick things that I'd like to just check off if I could. One is I'd like to commend you. 2025 through 2030 is actually a 6-year plan. So I think that
even better.
So I commend you for doing a 6-year plan when you're only charged with doing a 5-year plan. A couple specific things on page 8, and maybe elsewhere. I would suggest that the airport be listed as a little bit more of a community asset than I've seen thus far in it.
Yeah.
On page 16 of your report, in the SWOT analysis, under the strengths, I didn't see any specific reference. We have more than good schools here. We have
Top 10,
I think,
right?
yeah, we're in every ranking we've ever seen. We've been in the very high ranking across the state. So I would think that could perhaps be a little stronger statement. Also, I didn't see any mention there in my reading of it of a hospital system, and I think that's something that people look for, and that's one of our community strengths, and I would suggest that be added. And looking at it, and especially since the queen of the community college is sitting here watching over our shoulder, I think we might want to mention the benefit and the strength side of the community college itself.
Yeah, most definitely.
In the weakness section, I don't know what the term, and maybe you could make it more clearly at some point. It says lack of continuity. I don't know what the specific reference is there. And last, in the threats, I don't think that large developers are a threat. I think poor quality of development is a threat. On page in the listing where you go through and it's in pages 14, 15, and so on, I would suggest that the Compass Hotel, which is under construction, be added. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I would also suggest that the Inlet Inn be added as a specific area asset list. And I'd also suggest that the construction that's now underway at Gallants Channel for the Maritime Education Center be added as a specific list of area asset list. On page 28, if I can find my way over there. No, I've lost that one. So again, most of those things are just nitpicky, just things that I just saw as identification. In general, the other thing that I would suggest, and it's the same thing that we've run into here with a couple other reports that we've had to the thing, is if you were to perhaps incorporate those revisions and be thinking about it, I think it would be very helpful if we could have a very deep and broad awareness of this across our community to let those who didn't participate and volunteer in your meetings, perhaps even make this a richer document. I think I think it's a tremendous start, and I particularly commend Commerce, if you would, for setting up this program, establishing it, showing the leadership, and the quality of writing and the detail, in my opinion, was very strong. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we'll make all of those revisions. We can add all of those. And I think getting community input is a good idea.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Mayor.
Commissioner Gilligan?
Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed reading through this. There were some minor typos and spelling errors and things that I can share with the clerk. Just minor things. We don't need to go over any of that this evening. But on the SWOT analysis, I saw that Airbnb was specifically called out as a threat. And I'm kind of wondering if that was supposed to be short-term rentals, because a lot of the Airbnbs we have in town, people are renting one room in their home. Like, I used to do it for like 8 years to pay for my boat slip, for my
Yeah.
sailboat. So, and those aren't the types of things that have been identified in our community as a problem with someone staying in a room of someone's home.
Yeah.
Someone's home.
Well, we can change it to unregulated rentals or short-term rentals.
Yeah, I guess my question is that was that the intent? I'm assuming that
Yeah,
was the
it
intent.
was. Airbnb was named over and over and over again, more than any other short-term rentals, but I have no problem doing short-term rentals and in parentheses having like Airbnb, VRBO, like those are the options for short-term rentals. I will say that things that are a threat can also be a strength, right? Things can be in multiple different categories. And so if it's something that you're like, yeah, it can be a threat, but we also, it can be strong as well, I have no problem adding it to both parts of the list.
I think in some of our other plans and even the comprehensive plan, we were talking about like whole house short-term rentals
Yeah.
were like a really big issue.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make sure
I
we
can
weren't
specify
putting
in
that
there,
one
yeah.
brand in there and kind
That's
of calling
fine.
them
I'll
out, 'cause I
specify
think-
in there
Okay.
for it.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And in the list of work items where you describe what was done, you're talking about a survey. Is the survey the same thing as the stakeholder interview?
No, so before we started the process, I surveyed all of the work group. So all of our
okay.
work group was surveyed and all of their answers were anonymous, because while I got a lot of great information during our meetings, sometimes people are a little nervous to say things in front of everybody. And so the best way to get everybody to be completely honest and transparent and get some of that stuff that we might not be getting during the meetings is to survey anonymously before we all meet.
Okay, okay. I just wasn't clear on what that was or what the background on it was, so thanks for clarifying that. And on page 17, CAMA was identified under Department of Environmental Quality. So it was identified along with Division of Marine Fisheries. Actually, CAMA is Division of Coastal Management. And maybe if we can say Division of Marine Fisheries, Division of Coastal Management, parentheses CAMA.
Yeah, we can do that.
So a lot of people call it CAMA, but just want to make sure
Yeah.
the agency gets called out. Also on page 17, there is reference to a marine tech school. I am assuming that that is Carteret Community College Marine Trades. I'm looking for,
I wonder if anybody from the college is here.
so, and just to be more, Carteret Community College used to be called Carteret Tech, and just to make sure we're using the
Yeah.
appropriate verbiage for that, so maybe changing that to Marine Trades instead of Marine Tech School, unless there's a Marine Tech School I don't know about.
We can change it to marine trades.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then Bucky, regarding your comment about involving the public further, I'm wondering if that can be done like in the implementation actions, because didn't you say the implementation part was gonna be planning the specific actions that were gonna be done?
Yes.
Is that like an implementation plan of
Yes,
sorts?
it is an implementation. That is the implementation plan. So once we take each action, the ones that you all approve, we would take each one and we would break it down into specific tasks, where we would identify what group is going to be in charge of what task, right? And have, a range of what it might cost and what resources you all might want to reach out to, that kind of thing, to give you all a really good roadmap and a really good start of actually implementing the plan. And so if during that process, which I'm hoping will be during your all's retreat, we can talk about how do we get community engagement and community approval for these things, right? We can do it before or we can do it after, whichever one you all would prefer. Or we can do it during,
Okay,
but it's up to you. That part is up to you all,
Okay,
how
so
you want to
that's
engage
kinda
the
open.
community on
Okay.
that, yeah.
okay. And I think that is it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lo-Piccolo.
Yeah, I want to thank you for this. It really did a great job highlighting both the strengths and some of the deficiencies in our community. But I think it was extremely thorough. I think you did a great job, and everybody involved over the past, you said several years, putting this together, I think did a great job with it. And I think highlighting some of the parts of our community that people keep talking about, and I always hear about, and that we have been over and over, been through this over and over here in our community about parking, community center, affordable housing, are some of those things that we always keep hearing. I think enhancing the parks, I think in our community are definitely a low-hanging fruit, and I think we'll probably hear some about that tonight. I think I agree with the commissioners here. We did miss out on a few things, including the hospital being listed as one of the assets. I think also the work that's been done in our community to improve ADA compliance also was not listed, and we've had extensive work and have had grants in the community for that. So I think that should be highlighted as well. And I think it's also a testament, as you pointed out, things that could be done in our community. It's a testament to our community of how many volunteers we have here, because most of the events in our community are not put on by the town. Most of the events in our community, including the Rock the Docks, Beaufort Food and Wine, Music Festival, the Pirate Invasion, the list goes on and on, are all put on by nonprofits in our community. So I think if we do want to try to piggyback on some of those events or some of those things to try to bring in more community involvement, I think that might be an easy way to go. And I'd like to see if there's some way we can identify, we're going to put aside a certain amount of money to create that community event or community downtown feel, so we can have something for the locals. That would be great. So I agree with you for that. I think those events are for locals. We get tourists in as well, but maybe there could be something else that's kind of put together for the locals in our community. And the town has done a great job, I think, already. I think you pointed out a few things already that the town has done with arts in our community, with engaging the high school and painting murals on the, and
Paint the
Sharon's been
drain.
involved with that,
Yeah.
around storm drains in our community. So we've done, I think, a great job doing that. So it's great to hear some of the things that you threw out there for the town to do, that we're already kind of engaged in that, and I thank Sharon for kind of spearheading some of those things as well. But no, like I said, I think you guys did a great job with this. Going back to curiosity regarding short-term rentals and STRs and Airbnbs, that a lot of this was done probably during a time where we had enormous amount of pressures in our community, when there was COVID and no one was traveling, and I think Beaufort was overrun with tourism, and we didn't have as much of a build-out. I'm curious to hear if there's been a change in some of the pressures of Airbnbs and short-term rentals in our community now that that's changed.
I will say that all the data that we pulled from in here, and like all the surveys and the stakeholder interviews, all of that was done this past year.
Okay.
Yeah, all of that was done this past year between like April and September, around there. And so all of it is very current. And I will say that people have said it has gotten better, right? And so there is more workforce housing, but there's still a gap. And there's the short-term rentals, it does come up a lot about how that is impacting. It is the whole home short-term rentals that people are referring to, rather than the just one room or anything like that, that people were referring to when we, had those discussions.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate all the work you've done. I think Sarah.
Yes, I'm going to call on her next.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
don't want to leave her out there.
Commissioner Spiegler, can you hear us? All right, you're muted. There you go.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you, Samantha, for all the work you did. Really, really appreciate it. I was fortunate to be part of the work group with Samantha, and it was really great to work with her and also all the members of our community who participated. We had a lot of engagement, both through the working group and then all of the interviews that Sam did. So just really proud of our community for this effort. And thanks to Sam for working with me and working through my suggestions. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all the suggestions from the commissioners just now as well. I don't have many things to add because I was a part of helping to write this report. The only comment I'm going to make, and Sam, I apologize, I should have gotten this to you before, but on the bottom of page 22, there's a specific project, the Cedar Street Waterfront Park project. And I think also based on what our planning department says and what Rachel Johnson, our Parks and Rec person, says, I do think maybe we should change that Cedar Street Waterfront Park project to the west end of Ann Street, which we're going to hear about later tonight. I do believe that Cedar Street Waterfront project is on hold indefinitely right now, so it might be good to change it to the Ann Street project, but I'll also let the staff weigh in on that. And again, I apologize, I should have gotten that to you earlier. But that's my only comment.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can definitely look into changing that. Open to any suggestions. And I think that if the West Ann Street project is the thing that you all are working on right now, and has the most momentum, I think it makes sense to maybe sub that out.
Yes. And Commissioner Spiegler is correct. The Cedar Street Park project has been on hold for quite some time, so there's a lot of logistic issues there, so we probably just need to focus on, I guess, what your plan is really hoping for us to get into projects that are achievable. We've got enough volunteers, interest. As you said, that we are a vibrant and dedicated community, and that's how we got a lot of these things already pre-game, so to speak, to get ready for the big show. So I think what you've picked out and have identified is something that we're going to be able to partner with. I believe in partnerships totally. That's how we become successful. And the community as well is going to be able to make these things possible over time. I want to thank you all once again for your great job. I'm so excited. I couldn't wait to see how this is going to work out, especially since our first initial meeting. We've come quite a long way.
Yes.
And just as a short story, when I became a commissioner, I went to my first Main Street rural planning event in Goldsboro, and I thought, no, it was in Kinston, actually. And I thought, this is something that we could do, and some of the things that we could actually see come to pass in Beaufort. And here we are, short 8 years later. But it was definitely worth the wait. And I just want to thank everybody for doing what you've done and taking in all those considerations to kind of update the draft. So one of the actions we're looking at here is endorsing this economic strategic plan. Now, we could look at doing this tonight. I also wanted to say that Commissioner Cooper was involved in this as well. He and as well as Commissioner Spiegler served on the committee. So I would love to also hear if he had anything to say, but unfortunately he's under the weather. But I believe he was really intimately involved and probably has had his hands in this as well. So unless the board has any questions or concerns, if anyone is interested in endorsing the economic strategic plan with the additions and updates, and once again, remember, as Samantha has said, this is a living document. So it doesn't necessarily mean what you approve today can't be updated or improved over time. It's something that's a starting point. And we definitely will be having you come to our retreat. We already have the dates set out, and Elizabeth will send those to you. A great treat. We're going to be at the community college, and the students are going to cook our lunch for us. So
that's nice.
It's going to be a great place to be. So with that being said, what is the pleasure of the board? Are we interested in taking action on this tonight?
I'd suggest we put it on the consent agenda with the revisions included, if they can be done by that time.
Okay. We've got a motion to put it on the consent agenda for our December 9th meeting. That's a Board of Commissioners meeting.
I can have the revisions done by then.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got a thumbs up, which is an aye. Does she need to say aye? Ari?
Her thumbs are
Aye.
up. Her thumbs are up.
Thank you. Okay, so approved. So we look forward to
Thank
seeing you back
you.
with those revisions at our meeting. Thank you. Give yourselves a hand. You did it. Woo! You are making history, believe it or not. So we're going to move on to the items for review and discussion, and the first one is the sewer allocation reservation request, the Beaufort Club Enclave.
At your last meeting, this item was discussed as far as sewer allocation request from Beaufort Club, asking for 12,600 gallons per day to allow for the design and ultimate platting of 70 residential units on a 22-acre parcel. Our town engineer is available should you have background questions, but also at your last meeting, there was not representation here from the applicant, Beaufort Club, and this evening we have two representatives, the engineer for the project as well as the developer himself. There was a couple of questions that were raised at your last meeting, and one of those involved secondary emergency access to the development, and that was a fire code issue, and Chief Ray has worked with the developer and has maybe a good place for us to start would be for Chief Ray to speak with you about how that situation is moving forward and being taken care of. Chief Ray.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. Thank you, Town Manager. We're looking and talking with developer on the fire access is what's called for in the building code. The building code, the North Carolina State Building Code drives the North Carolina, what we call fire code. And all the appendices were adopted in 2013 by the town of Beaufort and the full fire code. The developer and I spoke several times last week, and we talked about what it calls for in the code is actually a fire department access road when they exceed 100 units, or we'll call rooftops. So moving forward, anything requests they would make that's not plotted or deeded at this time, they have looked at what we can do close to the property. I'll let the developer go with whatever he has on suggestions, but he has been very, very open in working with us.
Okay.
Any questions of
questions?
Chief? I guess we can ask either Jay or Todd to come forward and I guess tell the board what the plan is, and if there's any background information needed from the town engineer, Sam is available as well. Thank you.
Just, good evening, Commissioners and Mayor and Town Manager. Thank you for having us. I'm Jay Horton with Filter Design Studio. Just to speak on the access road, I think we're coming off of Windswept onto Cedar Avenue, and I think that they talked about what the standards would be for that to support emergency vehicle access. And as far as allocation requests, we are looking for the 70 at this point, 3 bedrooms that would equal the 12,600 gallons per day. And that's in the former parcel B.
It's in the what, sir?
It's in the former parcel B, which is now titled the Enclave.
Thank you.
And on the emergency access, it's thought that would be a gated drive at the end of Cedar and as well into the development of Beaufort Club, and it would be a gate that is enacted by an emergency vehicle siren. So it would not be where someone had to disembark from the emergency vehicle to open a gate and so on and so forth. So it would be an automated situation, but it appears to be meeting the needs of a secondary emergency access into the community.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further questions that you may have for Mr. Horton? Sarah, any questions for Mr. Horton? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chief, Can I ask the chief question?
Oh, sure.
Chief, what's the time frame or timeline for installing the access?
Anything that's not plotted or deeded now, so if they ask for additional lots or going forward, that would have to be part of any preliminary or final plat that would be approved by the commissioners. Yeah, so that fits the timeline as they look going forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Does the developer have anything they wish to add? Want to make sure all voices are heard. Okay, very good. Any further questions for the chief? All right, so the consideration is to approve the allocation of the 12,600 gallons per day of sewer capacity. Would you like to place this on your items for review and discussion, consent agenda, or approve it tonight? What is the pleasure of the board?
If we do approve it tonight, I'm just gonna make my repeat statement, which I make all the time about my concern about sewer allocation. I think this is a very reasonable amount of sewer allocation. It's only 1%, but I really think that we have to be very careful with our sewer allocation, continue our study of I&I, and also be very careful when we update our ordinances. We're gonna have kind of a mini strategic growth plan exercise within our UDO, so I really wanna key in on that, but I just wanna keep everyone aware that I'm very concerned about sewer allocation, but this one is a small request, so I would be okay approving it tonight if that's the pleasure of the board.
Okay. Any further discussion around that before I ask for a motion? Or you've made a motion, actually.
I agree completely with what you're saying.
I agree also. This is a priority one project. It's within the PUD, so I don't have a problem with that as well.
Commissioner Spiegler?
Yeah, Commissioner Gilligan said it very well, thank you.
All righty. So are you putting that into a form of a motion, Commissioner Gilligan?
Yes, I move that we approve the sewer allocation for a Beaufort Club Enclave.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to Phase 2 UDO Development Draft Contract.
I'll ask Michelle Eitner to come forward, town planner, give you background on this item. Thank you, Michelle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now that the UDO project Phase 1 is complete, we've worked with White & Smith to provide a draft contract with scope of work and budget for consideration. This coincides well with the RCCP grant, which has been green-lighted. We are active on that grant as of November 18th.
Okay.
So we have a 12-month timeline to conduct our grant-funded work, which would be the completion of Module 1. There's a 12-month timeline with the potential to ask for timing extensions if we get to the end and we see that we need a little bit more time for that. We wanted to make sure that the grant contract was in place prior to the work contract going into place so that we can apply for reimbursement under that grant. The consultant is working on a more detailed scope for Module 1, which will kind of set out that first year of work, but we do have that, the summary of work for Module 1 that shows our initial outset items as well as the resiliency items that we're going to be working on in that first calendar year. Are there any questions on that document at this time?
On the draft? Okay, Commissioner Oliver?
So just for clarity, Phase 1 module, which we're talking about tonight, is funded by the grant completely?
There's Phase 1 and then Phase 2. Phase 1 was the codes assessment, and that was completed as of the November 12th meeting. Phase 2 includes the entirety of the development of the UDO. Module 1 of Phase 2 is the resilience module, and that's the component where we've got that grant funding. So the draft document for adoption is going to be the deliverable for that grant.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gilligan?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lo Piccolo?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Spiegler?
I had a little bit of trouble reading the blue bars in the, and maybe you're going to get into that, Michelle. Some of them just got cut off a little bit under the phase and tasks list. Do you think you could redo that and just send it back out to us?
I can send the Excel sheet. I exported this from Excel to PDF, and if it would be easier to motor through it on Excel, I can do that as well.
That would be great. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, I see where it's cut off a little bit. But this does, as Samantha was going through her presentation, I was kind of taking notes. We've got those short-term rentals are going to be addressed in Module 2. Design standards, specifically with Live Oak corridor and everything, that's Module 3. And a lot of the resilience items, again, Module 1. So we've got some of those items already hitting the road in concurrence with that plan.
One other quick question. There were some minor revisions in the document that we looked at last time. Have those been incorporated?
We haven't received that yet.
But it will be.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions about the draft or any other comments or additions you want to add to that? All righty. So you're just looking for us to provide you with any further directions as to where to, how to
Yes.
proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So to proceed with either White and Smith, what, can you refine your ask here?
To proceed with the contract
Contract.
as written.
As written, okay, with White and Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Make a motion to
And
approve. the
legal has
contract
reviewed that contract?
as written.
And legal has reviewed that contract, legal?
I believe we reviewed the prior version of it, which is verbatim. This is just for the next scope of work, so
Okay.
it's a long way to say yes.
I wouldn't have it any other way from you.
Paid by the word tonight. I put it on the consent agenda.
Consent or approve it tonight? Which would you prefer? I've got a motion down here to approve.
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
I was gonna make a motion to approve it tonight.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. So we got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hold up.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, thank you.
All right, now we're going to move on to the Carter Community College MOU. Excited to hear about this. That's a great partnership.
Thank you again. Approximately 2 years ago, the Carter Community College received a appropriations from the legislature for developing a public safety training facility, and they went on Laurel Road on land that had been given to the college quite a while back, and it was a purpose donation when it was done. Some limitations on that property due to flooding in parts led Dr. Mancini from Carter Community College, Mr. Perry Harker, the vice president with the community college, and Cindy Godwin, who's facilities and operations director with the college. They approached me about taking a modular classroom that had been donated to the college, one of several that had been donated, and if it was possible, we could do this, not a collaboration, not a partnership, but if we could take space and put this on Fire Station Number 2's property. So a few notes about the classroom. It's a 30 by 32 modular classroom. One part of the MOU that we required was they put a restroom facility, so it would be a standalone type building for the school to use. We sent a lot of support for the Crystal Coast Community College or their fire academy. Over half my staff that I have now are all graduates of this community college program from the fire academy. So we're proud to be a partnership or support or be a sponsor in this program quite a bit. It is a contract that would be renewed annually. We've looked at all the zoning with the county. The Beaufort Fire Station on Highway 101, it sits on town property, but it is in the county. We've checked with all zoning with the county, flood zone setbacks and everything is appropriate. A little bit of idea how this sets on the property. This is the campus of Fire Station Number 2. You see the large ovalized retention pond in the rear. Then you see the building that sets off Highway 101, and the heavy black or bold mark is where this classroom would sit. To try to give you a little bit of idea of the setting, this is looking at Fire Station Number 2 now from Highway 101. On the right side is where we're looking to put in the classroom. The parking spaces and everything are already there. That is a Connex box that we use for storage. It sits to the right rear. A little bit of a rendering Uh-oh. Okay, now a rendering of what the classroom would look sitting on the property. Handicap ramp, everything. They've asked for some signage that would be identifiable for the college, but this just gives you an idea of what we're looking for and what we're asking in a MOU being approved, and we can move forward with the college on placing this classroom there. I'm open to any questions or comments. Dr. Mancini and Ms. Goodwin is here also. Mr. Harker had to step out for something at the college. I apologize.
I thought he was going home to make me dinner, but that was too much to ask for. All right, well, I'm excited. Commissioner Oliver, have any questions?
The only question I have is just for clarity, who's paying for the classroom?
The classroom was donated to the college. The college is paying all costs for setup, all costs for tap fees. All of that is on the college.
I hope we send them a thank you letter.
And let me continue with that. They are paying their portion of electricity and internet on a monthly basis also.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Commissioner Gilligan?
They're also gonna pay maintenance and repair.
Yes, ma'am. This is their building. There's insurance and everything is being written in the MOU also. So all that is standalone for the college. As I said, this is not a partnership or collaboration. This is just trying to work together and bring training needs for the Northern Carter community area.
Okay, great.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Commissioner Lopiccolo?
I mean, it sounds like a great idea. There's obviously benefits to the fire department here for you, I would imagine. Can you expand on that?
Yes, sir. As I said, we're a big sponsor, or we support the Crystal Coast Fire Academy. They're in agreement also, there's parts in there that we can use the facility for training if we have needs. All of it is, of course, written in as scheduling as it goes. The town would be able to use it if they had a need that came up. So this is all part of the MOU as it's being written.
Great. Sounds like a great idea and a great partnership.
It does. Now, I think I might have lost Commissioner Spiegler. There she is.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Now, the bathrooms, you say they come with the bathrooms. How is that being managed?
Yes, ma'am. They are modifying the inside of this classroom, so they've done one other classroom. There was a few that were donated to the college, and this is not the first time, but they're putting a restroom facility so it would not be a burden on the fire department if we were out or anything. So there'd be a standalone that the fire college or other continuing education activities could be on their own inside the building.
So that would have to be connected to water and sewer?
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
town?
We have all of that. Actually, that is the end of the town's force main on or the end of the sewer system out Highway 101, and it would be back on the town. Doing the one bathroom, we asked not a shower or anything, so we're not looking at a big impact on our bill for that part.
Okay, or the sewer part?
For the
either.
water and sewer, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay. And do we know how often we think this would be used? Yes, sure, please. Tracy Mancini, President College, please come on up if you'd like. Thank you. I have to remember to call you Dr. Mancini.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Beaufort Commissioners, and Town Manager. Yes, we would be holding the Crystal Coast Fire Academy classes here, so it'd be evening classes, probably 3 to 4 nights a week during those sessions. And then the proximity to the Laurel Road Public Safety Training Facility is very attractive to us because the students can go for classes at Beaufort Station 2 site and then just a short drive down to the Laurel Road facility. So we would use it that often, we know, but then we would like to continue to be good neighbors in that part of the county with our North River and Laurel Road neighbors. And if a need arises for a GED class that people in that community would like to take, we thought it would be a great opportunity to locate it near that neighborhood and community. And so the uses would be scheduled ahead of time. We would make sure there was a published schedule for the community as well.
That's great, being able to bring some programming to the area. I always love how the community college takes education and brings it to the people and where they're needed. And any other classes, I guess, that they could be held other than GED or other interest classes that are in that area?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, if there are interests that come to light and there are enough people to fill a class, we would like to serve that area of the county.
Okay, exciting, very good. Any questions for Dr. Mancini?
None for me.
None.
Okay, Commissioner Spiegler? Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate this opportunity. All right, so if seems like to be a very good partnership, something very exciting to think about. The request here is for the staff to approve whether we want to finalize a draft MOU and place this on the consent agenda. Do we have a consensus to do that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiegler? Okay. We'd like to place this on the consent agenda for our December 9th meeting. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. This is where I got my start, so I'm so excited to hear what you guys have been up to. My people.
We've been up to a lot. We've
I
got some
know
great
it, I know it.
recommendations
Can't wait.
tonight. So this evening, what I'm bringing forth is the recommendations from the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee concerning the west end of Ann Street. At our November meeting, we had some members of the public who actually live on Ann Street join us, and we just kind of had an open session to discuss best uses for that location. The recommendation today is to create a public park at the west end of Ann Street with water access that maintains the existing vistas and strives to mitigate existing stormwater flooding issues. There is a whole list of recommendations that the committee came up with. I'll just run through those real quick. But a lot of it is to eliminate a lot of the portions of the existing concrete area. Elizabeth, do you mind pulling up the map? I think it's the next slide. So that way you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about there. So there's currently 20 parking spaces. The recommendation would be to eliminate that, a lot of that, reduce it down to like 3 to 5, potentially 7 at the most parking spaces, as well as to move them away from the residence that is 102, right there, 102 Ann Street. Mm-hmm. So, and also, in addition to that, to make those parking spaces more permeable, to include a bike walking path to the center of the space that would be large enough for bicycles and walking, but not for golf carts. Picnic tables, benches, lush gardens, irrigation for landscaping, handicap access. There's a desire to incorporate historical markers, as this was the original location of the bridge into Beaufort. There's also historical markers desired for boat building and the fishing industries. And if you've spent a lot of time at the end of the water there, you are looking right across at major fishing industries, and it's pretty cool. The neighbors, also, I know one of the neighbors is here, has commented on the noises and things that come in the lights that they get used to over time. It's just part of what the culture is, and it's neat to be able to have that outside perspective. Another recommendation is the public art or a water feature. I've already talked about reducing the existing number of parking spaces. The committee would like to see an observation deck built or a dock similar to what is at Harborside Park for public use. Mm-hmm. I do want to be real clear on this. There was some discussion of kayak launch, and the committee has moved away from recommending that due to the currents and then also the major maritime channel that is right in front of that location. The recommendations also include bicycle racks, inclusion of native plants and rain gardens, exploring further flood mitigation possibilities for the location, and keeping that view open with no obstructions. Potential for shade, however, that's going to be a little tricky with the vistas remaining open. Mm-hmm. But an idea that was brought up was a swinging bench with a covered top on it that may be off to the side to provide some of that shade element. Possibly consider community garden options, involvement of the Beaufort Garden Club, and actually we reached out to the Beaufort Garden Club, excuse my word stumbles there, and they were going to attend the meeting, but they basically sent us word that they are game for whatever we come up with in that area and being a partner with it. Definitely want to see an attractive entryway, pocket seating areas, and maintaining as much green space as possible. The advisory committee and staff both think that a lot of this project can be done in-house. The next steps would be to create a design concept and seek estimates on the construction of the dock observation deck. I've actually already reached out to town engineer Sam Bell, and he's working on a preliminary draft concept plan. The Park Improvements Project Fund still has funding in it. That number is listed there, and so there is additional fees that have been gathered over the years from donations as well as recreation fees to potentially supplement this project. It is also a very good candidate for a lot of grants, especially with the stormwater mitigation aspects. It is also in alignment with the adopted Town of Beaufort Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan, which I have to show off. Oops, it was right here. Is available online if you're not familiar with that document. And so tonight, staff is asking for the board to authorize proceeding with planning the park project at that location and to look into the possibility of utilizing existing funding for in the parks improvement project while leveraging grant sources to move forward with that project. And the next steps would be, it would go back to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board at their December 7th meeting. Hopefully we'll have a preliminary concept plan to review at that time from engineering. They would make further recommendations and it would come back to this board. So it would come back multiple times before anything was finalized or any finances were spent. Another major aspect that we want to make sure we don't miss is reaching out for public engagement. So once there is a concept plan that is agreed upon between the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and this board, we will want to hold a public input session.
Great job. Any of the Park and Rec members here?
They are not.
They're not, okay, just wanted to say thank you for their good work and your leadership in that. We'll see if we have any questions before we start through our discussion. Commissioner Oliver?
Has any thought been given to who would do the design plan?
Currently at this time, we were looking at doing it in-house with our engineering staff. The Topsail Park plan was created in-house by Sam Bell, our engineer.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gilligan?
I was trying to see what flood zone this is in. It looks like AE8, maybe. AE8. I'm kind of, I haven't been able to look at like the inundation area for this. Like if you look at the NOAA sea level rise viewer and see what the inundation is per foot or whatever, I kind of, and this is just a matter of wording, but I wonder if it would help you get funding if you could refer to it as a stormwater park. Where during times of flooding, it has a great absorptive capacity and it's not able to be used, and that's okay. But when in times of dryness, it can be used. I like the idea of your mitigation aspects and all the components that were mentioned, the native plants and things. I heard you talk about a water feature, and if we're gonna be promoting resilience and sustainability, I'm not sure that a water feature is, I think we've got a great water feature out there in the waterway, and so maybe the dolphins jumping out of the water could be in lieu of a water feature that might be costly to us since our water is so valuable to us, our fresh water anyway. And then I'm assuming maybe when the dock is engineered, and I know this is not, Harborside Park doesn't have the modified hog slat for the decking, does it? Does it have wood decking?
It's wood.
I'm going to defer to Kyle on that one.
Yeah, but maybe we could consider like a really resilient dock that, wouldn't be impacted by waves and water level rise during storms. And so we wouldn't have to worry about responding to that park for any repair after storms if we use like the modified hog slat material. So just a few suggestions there, and I'm really proud of what you're asking for. Super excited about it. So thank you, Rachel, and committee members.
Yes. Commissioner Piccolo?
I want to thank Rachel. I attended the meeting with the Parks and Rec Committee about this, and it really went well. There was a lot of consensus about this park and items that were kind of agreed upon. I think the park, engaging even Coastal Federation with stormwater management at that park may also be helpful. I think rain gardens also may be helpful as well. And I agree with the dock material. I think having this very strong dock material on that seawall there would probably be helpful for the storms. As we all know, that part of the street really has issues with stormwater, and when tides are high, there's quite a bit of water that rises and stays there until the tides go out. So if there's any way with our grants, we can kind of look into having some type of like a stormwater mitigation plan to maybe retain that in some type of like basin or something, or like we've done it on Cedar Street, then maybe that would be helpful in that location as well. So.
Sounds good. Okay, Commissioner Spiegler.
One more thank you, Rachel, and to all the Parks and Rec volunteers. This is really, really exciting. I also got my start on the Parks and Rec committee, so very excited to see this. I think this will be really awesome for Beaufort, so thank you again. I don't have too many comments. I might play a little bit of devil's advocate to Commissioner Gillikin. Since it sounds like we're not going to have a kayak or small craft launch there. Maybe we do. Maybe it would be nice to have some sort of water feature. You know, if kids and families can't get into the water there. I'm not saying we definitely need it, but that might be the other side of it, since you're not going to be able to access the water from this point. But other than that, this is really exciting, and just keep up the good work. Oh, and as I said earlier in the meeting, I think this fits really well into the economic development Main Street report that we just discussed. So great work.
I agree. I was just thinking to myself, we've just checked off something already. So it just gives you an idea of how quick progress can be, but I think it's because we've been prepared. I really like the fact that you're going to do the design in-house, and as well as do a form of survey, so that way the park can feel really close to home to a lot of those that participate. I'll let you guys kind of figure out how to engage the community, but although it's on Ann Street, I don't want to feel that it's just for that area alone. I want everybody to be as involved in the concept as possible. So to get as many diverse voices in there, even if you don't live on Ann Street, you can always go down there to enjoy the end of that park. And thank you for the neighbor who has been watching all that seafood going on there, that fishing. It would be nice if they gave you some, right? Just pass it right on by, toss it off the boat. Yeah. There you go. So it'd be nice if they shared a little bit of that. Once again, really proud of the progress that the Park and Rec has been making. Love to see these projects come to the board so that we can continue to know what you're doing and what you're working on, because you're doing some amazing things. So I guess for today, what you're really looking for us to do is to kind of give you our blessings that you're heading in the right direction and continue to crafting this. And then coming up with more of a draft plan for us to take a look at, because there will be some money involved in this as well, and then we get to approve that. All righty. Yes, sir.
Just one thing to add, there's already been some activity out there that Public Works Director advised me of last Friday. King Tide took the pier out. So that's already on the shore. The planks are already on the shore, so that pier is no longer there.
Paulo is right. All right, so, okay, well, then that meant it was something meant for us to do something different then, I suppose. So we'll take it as a good sign. And we're just going to move forward. So what is the pleasure of the board? Are we, as a consensus, fine with the Park and Rec to continue on exploring this option and bringing back to us a draft plan?
Make that as a motion.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thumbs up is aye. Thank you.
Aye.
All righty. Now we're going to move on to the Beaufort Waterfront Operations and Finance Committee update. And we've got Commissioner Spiegler and Commissioner Gillikin to help with that update.
Okay, I think I was.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Commissioner Gillikin's going to give the update.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure we dodged any technology bullets this evening. Sarah has been coming through loud and clear, but she can fill in any blanks that I leave. Just a very short summation of what happened at our last meeting. I know Commissioner Oliver was there. Mayor, you're there part of the time. Charlie was. John, you were not. So maybe some of this is new, and hopefully it's all good news. One significant thing that we decided as a recommendation to the commissioners is that we would like to offer both gas and diesel at the docks. There had been some discussion about having diesel only, And we decided, after weighing the pros and the cons, that we would also like to offer gas. Barry, Steve, Mike, and Weymouth have been working on bullet points that they are going to pass off to Charlie to inform the scope of work for marina operations, and they came to the committee with an abbreviated list of bullets, and they have expanded upon that, and I see some of that work being passed around via email now, so they'll have something pretty substantial to hand off to Charlie to help with the request for proposals when the time comes to release that for a marina management company. And Barry Slade has had many decades in the marina management world, so he's kind of taken a lead on that part of this, and so we're really fortunate to have all of those great minds working on that. Another significant thing to report out on is that Craig Sousa and team have established a community foundation for Beaufort that will serve our waterways, waterfront, and parks. This is completely separate entity from the town. It is a 501c3 organization, and they've already gotten their determination and everything. They're ready to accept donations. They could provide match or some kind of support to our waterfront improvement projects. So the idea kind of hatched and was launched very quickly because of this, but it will serve other parts of our community. And kudos to those folks who've been working on that. Again, not a town effort. They're going to have their own board separate from the town, but obviously we'll be collaborating with the town a lot and providing support when it's asked for, or perhaps when they come up with an idea and offer. And if it works out in the next agenda item that we added when we amended the agenda, we may have a consulting firm experienced in BRIC, which is Building Resilience in Communities, BRIC grants to help us finish up a letter of intent for funding that is due on the 20th of December, and that would be to fund a portion of the waterfront improvement project that is related to resilience. Could include the boardwalk cap and making it taller vertically. It also might include the boardwalk. It's going to include some green infrastructure as well. So we'll see what happens in the next agenda item, but that might be available to us now. And those are the highlights. Sarah, what did I miss?
Turning it over to you, Sarah.
That was great. Thank you, Commissioner Gillikin. I would just say we have a meeting next Thursday. That would be my only update. December 5th.
Okay. Any further questions for the commissioners? Commissioner Oliver?
No questions, thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Piccolo?
No question.
All right, thank you very much. What is the name, can you remind me the name of that foundation? I know they had a name.
Beaufort Community.
Beaufort, that's right, okay. And are they going to have a form of website? So when we say to people, let's go ahead and, write a check or give generously, will we be able to give them that information, how to do so? Who's going to be responsible for that part of outreach and communication? Is that going to funnel through
I'm
the
sure
committee?
that Craig could provide that to us at our next BWOF meeting. Surely they have an address, but we haven't heard the specifics of any types of technology they might use to accept donations. They had literally just gotten their determination letter, like maybe the day before the last meeting. So I'm sure those things can be answered, but that would be helpful to be able to tell people where they could donate.
Right, well, just bring your checkbook to the December 5th meeting, right? Yes.
Yeah, so I did the minutes today, so it's still fresh in my mind. They actually have BeaufortCommunityFoundation.org as their website.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. That's so helpful. Oh,
Right.
awesome.
So BeaufortCommunity.org. Foundation.org, okay. BeaufortCommunityFoundation.org. And of course, Rachel has been really instrumental in updating our website and has got our project line updated. So I assure you all that information will be on our website for those who are interested, that are listening, that are still up and listening to us. All right. Well, thank you for that update. Unless there's anything further, we're going to move on to the next item. You good? Okay. All righty. So now we're going to move on to the resolution that is related to engaging a grant writing firm. We're going to hear from Mr. Burgess about that.
Now, as Commissioner Gillikin stated in her update, staff had a successful conversation this morning with representatives of W.K. Dixon for grant writing, specifically LOI for a brick grant. And the indications are that they both have the capacity as well as the time to get this application put together in advance of the December 20th deadline. And much of the rewrite of the current LOI that we're in possession of has been performed by a subcommittee of the Waterfront Committee. And Commissioner Gillikin has done lots of work, lots of research on this as well. And so the intent from the staff vantage point is to work closely with this group to facilitate, assuming you're fine with this resolution, to facilitate the matching up of the W.K. Dixon resources with Commissioner Gillikin and the other committee members. And ultimately, the town ends up being the recipient and the submitter of the grant. But we're excited to have this opportunity to enhance the capabilities and put our best foot forward for this grant application. Town attorney was nice enough this morning to draft this resolution for your review and such, and it outlines the brick grant and the LOI, the maximum amounts. But that, don't get too focused on that amount. As we're not talking that kind of money, but we're awaiting a letter of intent from W.K. Dixon, and I'm not sure if we received it today, but I'm sure if we did not, we'll receive it by tomorrow. We'll be ready to move forward and got Commissioner Gillikin and others loose.
Oh, that's great. All right, let's see if we have any questions for Charlie. Commissioner Oliver?
I have no questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Gillikin?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopiccolo?
No questions.
Thank you. And Commissioner Spiegler?
No questions, but Charlie, thank you so much for your work on this and coordinating this. Really appreciate it.
It's taken several forms, and staff helped me to find the right form that we could give to the town attorney and keep us all out of trouble.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just a day's work. No, but
Knocked out another fee.
I echo Commissioner Spiegler, and thank you for getting involved and getting this going so that we can have a potential possibility to apply for this grant because the deadline is looming. And just let you know that, it's just no saying no in this. You just keep trying until you're actually successful. So I'm glad we said yes to continue to try. All the committee members that are going to be working on this, I know overnight is, they're going to be pulling a lot of overnighters trying to get this done because of the short deadline, but I think we're going to be in good standing, and I wish everybody luck. So with that being said, can I get a motion to approve this resolution to allow for staff to search for qualifications based on the selection process? Okay. Got a motion on the floor. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Fantastic. Let's see, we haven't run out of things to talk about. So unless anybody has any further comments, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So made.
Got a motion on the floor. Any questions?
I got one comment.
Okay.
This Thursday, there is a town event on the waterfront called the Wobble Down Front Street. And actually, the town website has it on its town website here. And the reason why I highlight this is this event is to benefit the Beaufort Elementary and Beaufort Middle Schools. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we have events downtown that are different organizations and different groups, but And I've been to lots of different runs, and this is a 5K walk and fun run and so forth. But this one's a special one to me because it brings in the community. And if you go to this event, you're going to see people from the ETJ, people from who are downtown, the kids, the families. It's actually a really neat community event. So I would highly recommend or encourage everyone out there, if you can, come down to that and come see Beaufort, okay? Anyway, it's up on the website.
Oh, there you go.
It's something great to do before Thanksgiving. Get your little exercise in, go for a little walk. But it really is a great community event, and it does help the elementary school and the middle school. So I just wanted to bring that.
Are you wobbling, John?
I'm going to try to wobble. I'll be there. I'm bringing the whole crowd to wobble that thing.
Well, I found my wobbling partner in the audience, Victoria Washington, will be wobbling down with me. Before we go to your house and eat turkey, because her mother's cooking.
There's a sign up there on the website too.
Well, thank you for bringing that out, and you're correct. I also wanted to, I know we're going to adjourn, but I forgot to recognize the fact that our Commissioner LaPiccolo has completed a full marathon of 26.2, and that point 2 is very important, marathon, and he did it successfully. And can you just join me in a round of applause? I just want to say.
Encourage craziness.
Yeah.
More than a wobble.
Yeah, he can do more than wobbling is what I'm trying to point out. So he's going to be the hustler of the group. So a motion to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for spending time with us.